Hello, this is the Porgcorner with your hosts Mark and Steven. We talk comics, film, books, television, science, and gaming. We come from different nerddoms. Steven lives and breathes Star Wars, and I'm a Superman and DC fanatic. We also touch on the Marvel Universe and other sci-fi and fantasy franchises. Now, let's get to episode 10, our Avengers Endgame review. Avengers Endgame. What do we say about this film? It's the ultimate finale, ultimate conclusion to an epic saga spanning decades, generations, and even the galaxy. Before we get started, it's important to say that it's impossible to discuss this film in any depth without spoilers. So if you've not gotten a chance to see the film, pause this review and come back after you have seen it. So, Endgame opens where Infinity War left off, with the great dusting of 2018, as I like to call it.
I get it. I get it.
We are shown the dusting from Clint Barton / Hawkeye's perspective as his family disappears with no explanation. That's what opens the film. We then see the remaining Avengers on a space mission to the planet that Thanos retires, quote-unquote, on after the snap in Infinity War. The team executes a plan of attack in order to get the Infinity Stones and undo the snap. Unfortunately, Thanos has already destroyed the stones, and the end of this scene on this planet shows Thor decapitating Thanos with Stormbreaker.
Ooh, very un-Thor of him.
Very
I mean,
different
he definitely will cut people's heads off, but like...
I would expect that with a giant axe.
Okay.
So let's just jump right into it. What were your general impressions of the film, Steven?
I loved it. I don't think they could have done it better. I'm just... time travel. It gets me sometimes. I'm for it. I'm against it. Time travel.
Yeah. I'll say this. That actually brings up something that I felt was an important element beginning this film. So after that whole opening sequence of them killing Thanos, chopping his head off.
Visiting Thanos in retirement.
Right, you make it in the nursing home. You make it sound so peaceful. Right after that scene, they go to a black screen that says 5 years later.
Yeah, classic like movement of time.
Right.
In movies.
And I felt that was a little shocking that they kind of fast forward that much, but it also gave the movie some weight to start out because you see the world in disarray. Yeah. Like imagine 5 years of having half the population presumably dead.
Yeah. So what's your opinion about actually putting up a screen like that? To actually say 5 years later in big, bold block letters.
Instead of like hinting at it?
You're right. I would have rather...
I think that would have added an extra 5 minutes to explain it's 5 years later without just saying it.
Heaven forbid. I think that it was a 3-hour movie. How dare they add 5 more minutes?
Hey, that extra 5 minutes, man, that's a bathroom break.
Oh, jeez.
You mentioned time travel, though, that you're sometimes iffy about the use of it.
Yeah, because, I mean, it's a cop-out sometimes.
Yeah.
How can I redo this? Well, I figured out time travel. I'm going to solve the problem. But I think in this case, I feel in this movie, they attacked it from a different perspective. They kept telling us how they perceived time travel to be different than we've ever seen it in any other movie. And they literally list other time travel movies.
They literally list, yes, like the famous time travel movies.
Yeah. And
starting with, Back to the Future.
Right, and because they're trying to explain time travel to each other, and they're like, no, it's this way. And they're like, why do you believe that? And everybody's like, because of every movie ever.
I think they were like, Time Cop, Back to the Future, Hot Tub Time Machine. I can't think of the rest.
Ant-Man's tried so hard to come up with one, and he just goes, Die Hard? Oh, no, that's not one.
That's not what
It was so great.
At some point he says, it's not like Back to the Future at all. No, wait, it is like Back to the Future.
And then he goes, no, it's not. No, it's not.
Yeah.
They lied.
Back to the Future lied. Yeah, I mean, I thought the film overall, so it really ended the MCU on a good note, despite time travel, as you said.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, it was the only... not the only, but it was an acceptable route to take.
Right.
It was
right.
time travel, but they did it in such a way that it was, they didn't alter the past to create a new future.
It didn't feel cheap.
Yeah.
It felt earned because we've had 11 years of the MCU now
Yeah.
that they went this route. Because other than Doctor Strange, we've never really seen this clear use of it
Sure.
throughout the film, you know? And so it felt earned to use that. Let's kind of transition to, overall impressions of characters in this film. Did you have favorites, standout moments from these characters?
Oh my gosh. So here's a big thing for me. All of these Avenger movies, I have felt like the acting has just been poor. It has not been, not that the actors are bad at acting, but I just feel that sometimes the acting was, I don't know, comic book scripted, which is exactly what it is. So, you got the character right off the pages. But this is a movie. This is a movie series that's taken us 11 years, over a decade to get to. It's a franchise. They know what they were doing. They picked high-level actors, and this movie alone gave them all an opportunity to act and perform and give us emotion, a range of feelings, and it was amazing.
For a film that is like this biggest, spectacle that you can imagine in really blockbuster history. Like, it's not just comic book films, but I've never seen anything like this on the big screen. It's just an epic in terms of sci-fi, comic book, fantasy elements even. To really see how intimate and emotional that the actors play these characters in this film was actually incredible.
It was. That's what I'm saying. Like,
they were
just, wow. They just wowed me.
Yeah, the actors went to places that I feel like I felt like I knew Iron Man entirely. I felt like I knew Captain America entirely because we've had so many films with these characters.
Yeah, I thought we had. This is what he's going to be every time.
Even Thor, like after Ragnarok, remember how like they did a whole transition of the character for Ragnarok? They made him a more like funny type of protagonist.
Yeah, he's more of a comical character.
Where do you go after that?
Right.
And they went there.
They did.
They found a way.
But it's great because again, he continues that character growth, but he gets to perform. He gets to be an actor.
Yes.
He gets to have emotions and feelings, and it's just so great.
Right. He becomes a real. I mean, he's always a god, and he's always been a person per se, especially Thor Ragnarok. But like this brought him more down to earth than I feel like any other iteration of the character.
Yeah.
Even Ragnarok, like he's still otherworldly. I mean, it's a cosmic film.
Yep.
This one, he was he was a big fat dude.
He's Fat
so
Thor.
He was very relatable.
He's Fat Thor.
Lebowski Thor.
He's the Big Lebowski.
Yeah.
He's my favorite.
They totally played that up, and it worked.
They did. They gave him the little sweater and everything, and he just sunglasses, a sweater, and a slouch. He's just sitting in a chair.
And the beard.
And somebody just goes, "Is he sleeping?"
Right.
And then like a 3 count, he stands up.
and to be on the nose about it, Tony Stark actually calls him Big Lebowski.
He does. He sees him for the first time. He goes, "Okay, Big Lebowski."
Right. and they keep it up through the film.
They
like
do.
It's consistent with it.
It is. It's so great.
So actually, he ended up being one of my favorite characters.
Oh
in
yeah,
this film.
Fat Thor. Oh. They better make an action figure. Oh my gosh, they better make an action figure. I'm buying it.
You're buying a Fat Thor action
Fat
figure?
Thor.
They should make it a limited edition.
Oh my gosh, that'd be so great. I'm buying that. He'll never come out of the package.
All right, so other than Thor, what do you think of the other two, of the big three? Again, Iron Man, Cap. Obviously, they both have their own emotional payoff to all these years with the character. Did you feel like they were both handled well in this?
I do, because with Captain America, the best way to explain it is to go and give an example. And that example, like his character growth and where he is now in his life, this post 5 years past the dusting and everything, he runs into himself and his and they start a little fight, and then, 2012, Captain America says, "I can keep this up all day." And present day Captain America goes, "I know you can."
Yeah. I love that one.
I did too. But it just goes to show, like, he's tired. He's actually showing he's tired. Like, I can only do this so many times, but I know I'll never stop.
Right. And there's an element of, obviously, 2012, Captain America is still experienced in that film, but he's still green, and they show that comparison to all the stuff that's happened since the first Avenger.
Yeah.
That movie was, 7 years ago now. That's crazy. All the growth that character has gone through. Winter Soldier, Civil War. between him and Cap, him and Iron Man,
Iron Man.
which they actually kind of start part of the movie, at least the first act, going back to that.
Yep.
They call back to that disagreement between the two.
Yeah.
Because they have to bury the hatchet. And actually, one of the interesting things was I think Tony had one of the best moments in the first act of the film, and that's when he's saved by Captain Marvel from the ship that's floating in space.
Mm-hmm.
They bring him back to Avengers compound, and he's just like emaciated.
Yeah, he's so skinny.
Skinny, like I think he's in a wheelchair. Like
he's in a wheelchair. They put him in the wheelchair.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. He is just the worst you've ever seen him in terms of physical shape, and he's also angry. Rightfully so.
Right.
He tells Cap, "Hey, you told us we'll lose together." Like, I think the line is something like he's talking about Age of Ultron. Like, I made all these robots to protect us, and you told me we don't need that. If we lose together.
Yes.
So Tony says that to Captain America.
Yeah.
And then Tony says, "And you weren't there in Infinity War."
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you remember Infinity War, everyone is separated.
Yeah.
And Cap wasn't there when they lost.
Right.
And Tony takes it's like that's affected him.
Right. But Captain kind of defends himself a little bit. He says, but I lost to him as well. He tries to explain like you weren't here when I was trying to defeat him, and we lost as well.
Right. And it's like obviously there's no logic to this. It's just an emotional outburst.
Right.
And but you can see again that ultimate conflict between the two.
Mm-hmm.
There's just this animosity there, and also a brotherhood there.
Yeah. Because Captain America's so righteous all the time, and Tony Stark is just trying to be like, you can't be that all the time. We need to work together or come to an agreement of sorts, and they never can. Right.
And it's kind of like Cap. I think the last couple movies, starting with Civil War, the righteousness angle has been on a downturn.
Yep.
And he's felt like more of a real character.
Yes, I agree. But again, Captain America is supposed to be righteous, so it's been an appropriate progression.
Right.
It wasn't like a character choice. It was the direction that the character is supposed to be going.
Right, and they don't go over the edge to the other side with it. It's not like he becomes like Tony Stark. You know what I mean?
Right.
They don't make him that. It's subtle, and that's what makes him relatable, despite being the quote-unquote Boy Scout type of character. Yeah. Okay, so the next big character I would say remember, the ones that didn't get snapped out of existence in Infinity War are basically the originals.
Yeah.
For the most part. And like Rocket Raccoon and Nebula.
Yeah.
But Hulk.
Oh my gosh. I love
Bruce Banner.
I love Bruce Banner Hulk.
I
like Smart Hulk.
Sweater vest Hulk.
Sweater vest Hulk. He goes, I mean, look at me. I'm wearing shirts. So funny.
I did not expect that at all.
I didn't either. I didn't see that coming at all.
And it worked.
It did.
It's like it was played for laughs, of course, like because it's
at the beginning
inherently funny.
Yeah.
And like he's in the diner eating all like 500 eggs.
So many eggs.
And
many pancakes.
And these kids come up to him for a selfie, and he's just a celebrity.
Yeah. Yeah,
he
because he's the big green guy. They get to take a picture with the big green guy.
Right. Yeah. But it worked in this, even though it was played for laughs. And you could even see like his facial expressions.
Yeah.
I don't think he was Bruce Banner once in this. He was he
was Bruce Banner. When he goes to see Doctor Strange, original teacher.
Oh yeah, she pulls him.
She separates him from the body. Yeah.
He was Bruce Banner for like 2 minutes in this film.
Probably 2 or 3 minutes of screen time.
The rest of it was Sweater Vest Hulk.
It was all Sweater Vest Hulk.
Yeah. And it worked.
It did.
Did you?
Well, see, so what you're saying about the big thing about his face is that this is the first time we have Hulk body with Bruce Banner's face. Because anytime it's ever been Hulk before that, it's been 100% Hulk face, which kind of looks like Bruce Banner, but this looks like Bruce Banner as a giant green guy.
Yeah,
that's the difference.
That is true.
That's how we get a little bit more, emotion out of his face, a little bit more human.
Yeah,
a little less crazy rock, big guy.
Hulk smash.
Hulk smash. That's all I got. That's all he's got.
Do you feel like overall that remember he started in the Incredible Hulk in the MCU, like that's the film that started his journey in the MCU.
Yeah, but it wasn't Mark Ruffalo. right?
It was Ed Norton in
Right, it
that
was
one,
Ed
but
Norton.
it's still
Okay.
technically part of
Correct.
the journey.
It's supposed to be part of this journey.
So has his arc over these last 10 years, do you feel like paid off?
I think so, because he says it himself in the diner. He says, I always looked at Hulk as a virus.
Right.
And what I needed to do was accept him and try to meld the brawn with the brains.
Right.
And he said, I finally found that. And it took him, the 5 years of this post-apocalypse.
And that's also another really smart way of why the 5-year jump ahead works.
Yeah, it gave everybody an opportunity to kind of
to grow.
To grow. And they got to that. Some of them got to dark spots in their life. Some of them got to light spots, kind of like the Hulk. He found the medium.
And that actually brings us precisely to the next group of characters, which is Black Widow and Hawkeye. So talk about taking a dark turn. Hawkeye is straight up has become the Punisher.
Yeah, he's the vigilante. He's chasing down mobsters and
cartels.
And he says, I think he says something like, half of the universe is gone, but you're still here.
Right. He says that to the Yakuza guy. Yeah.
So that's why he's on this mission.
Right. But it's like it's clear that he's fallen.
Sure. He's just so angry at the loss of his family.
Right.
And he's taking it out on this acceptable outage.
Right, and so again, it was smart how they started the film with showing the snap from Hawkeye's perspective, because if we just saw Ronin, which is what he becomes when he goes to the dark side, if we just saw this character just killing dudes, we wouldn't understand. We would understand his family's gone, but without seeing it and like that moment when the snap happens and they're just disappeared.
Yeah.
It wouldn't. His journey in this wouldn't have made as much emotional impact. I feel like.
Yeah.
So there's also a Black Widow.
Yeah. She has a dark story now because she says something like the Avengers is the only family I have or the only family I know, and they're not here anymore. They're spread across the universe and the world.
Yeah.
And so she just kind of feels alone.
What I liked about again the 5-year thing, to go back to that, the 5-year jump ahead. She's the de facto leader of the Avengers?
Yeah, definitely. Captain America seems to have taken a step down, and she's pretty much running it.
She is Tony and Steve in one in this 5-year period, where she's the tactician and the strategic element of the Avengers in terms of you go here, you do this mission, you do this mission, and she's also keeping everyone together. I was going to say heart, but I wouldn't. That's not the right word. She's just keeping everyone together as a family. If you will.
Yeah. She's trying to be the patriarch.
Right, exactly, and the matriarch. She's both.
Yeah.
And Steve Rogers has taken a step back, as you said. I like the callback with Steve Rogers in this 5-year period. He's going to like those kind of group meetings.
Yeah,
group therapy, which is a callback to the Winter Soldier when he met Falcon. He met Falcon at a group therapy session.
That's right.
And so they came back to that, and now he's helping people. And it's like, that's very Captain America, to help people in another capacity. Another big character, Ant-Man, Paul Rudd.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad he showed up in this movie.
Yeah.
I like Paul Rudd, and I really enjoy his character of Ant-Man. I think, I like funny.
Yeah.
I like comedy, I like characters that are humorous, and he brings that element in every time he's on screen.
This film felt like a justification for the Ant-Man films to me.
What?
I'm not a big fan of the Ant-Man films.
Oh, no, I love those.
They are pretty much the only Marvel films that I've not watched in theaters. Like, I've waited to see them on video.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'm not saying they're bad films. They're just, they haven't worked to the extent I think they could overall. And this film, and his performance in this film, retroactively justifies those films and makes them, I think, a step above what they were.
Okay. I mean, maybe you're right. Maybe it adds an element to what those other movies mean now.
Yeah, he comes off as more sincere in this, despite having a lot of jokes.
Sure. I think part of that is he wakes up and it hasn't been 5 years for him. Right. He said it's been 5 hours. So he's still kind of in this like, let's get them, guys. Let's pack it up and get things moving.
Yeah.
And then he also has the advantage that somebody that one person he cared about is gone, but the other person he cares about has not gone.
Right.
You know, he's able to go and find his daughter, and he's just like he's so relieved. So now he has a mission, but I feel like he's more focused than everybody else. Everybody else is just kind of
Right.
broken. They've been broken for 5 years.
They're kind of drifting.
Yeah.
And he's not, because he is like us as an audience, where like we just saw everyone disappear. We want a resolution now.
Yes.
And he's like, let's do this.
Yeah.
Like, he comes up with the idea to use time travel.
Yeah.
From the quantum realm, or however they explain
And I don't know how he does that, because he's not that smart in the other movies. I mean, I guess he's just been learning some of this quantum realm physics.
Yeah.
You
Mumbo
know,
jumbo.
from mumbo jumbo. from Pym and
Right.
from I forgot her name.
Yeah. Well.
From Wasp.
Yeah, Wasp as well, because they're the smart science people. But yeah, I mean, his background, Scott Lang, is that he's just like
He's a
thief.
con man. He's a thief.
Yeah, he's a thief. Like, he doesn't know.
He does
all this
heists.
stuff. But and he comes up with this idea. He brings it to the team, and he's like, "Let's do this, guys." And they're kind of like, "Is this really gonna work?" But let's try it. And then they actually, the last person they had to convince was Tony,
Yep.
because Tony has a
Well, so I'll step on your toes there. They try to convince him,
right,
and they can't.
and they can initially.
But all you have to do with Tony Stark is ask him a question, and he can't stop thinking about it. So they just really needed to plant the seed,
yes.
and then they went off to find Bruce Banner, the other most smartest guy in the world.
But again, that's part of Tony's arc as well, is that I think for the first time he really had a dilemma with this, because there are past movies like even Iron Man 3 where it's like Pepper Potts, his wife, wants him to hang up even in the Infinity War, they start by having a conversation about, like, I'm done with this.
Yeah,
I'm not going to be Iron Man anymore.
Yeah.
And then he gets sucked into space, essentially. Like,
Right.
it's forced upon him. But in this one, he has a family. He has more stakes than ever. He has a daughter. And he really thinks about it.
Yeah.
And you can tell that through his acting and everything. So
Yeah.
I really feel like, and I'm thinking back on it now, because initially Captain America was my favorite, like, arc in this film, my favorite character.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like Iron Man is the heart of this film, and
It definitely is.
Yeah.
I was super, super glad that I wore my Iron Man t-shirt to the movie.
right.
That I felt like that connected me to the movie more.
Yeah, I mean, same thing with my Superman hat. I felt very connected to.
Totally didn't want to sit near you.
Luckily, I didn't get any comments about it. But
It's because everybody in there was just there to be nerds together. So there was no hate. There was
That is
nothing.
true.
Everybody was just there to nerd out.
it was a great nerd event.
Yeah.
Oh, another big character, which was kind of surprising, was Nebula from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, I know. I did not see her being such a pivotal character in this movie. Like, because you know how you kind of come up with your own predictions in your head, and you start thinking about theories of what you think the movie might do. And I never even put the dots together that she would be such an important portion of this movie.
Yeah, she is the character. I don't know what you call it in fiction, but the character that moves a plot along, but not in a bad way. Like, she didn't become a device itself.
Right.
She was a device, but she also was a character.
Right.
They handled it well, so that you can move the plot along with her,
Yeah.
while also giving her a character arc herself. Because essentially, what she is the way for the bad guy Thanos to figure out the plan.
Yeah. Yeah. And my only concern, my only about that and about the movie is, like, how does she, the cyborg, not know what the cyborg is capable of? And communicating, like, using wireless network systems to communicate with her own frequency was not something that she thought of. That's the only loophole I see, and it's I don't know if it's because her character's not supposed to know everything about herself, or I don't understand that.
So maybe this will sound bad, but I always feel like Nebula is not too bright.
That's
of
my
a
only thought.
character?
That's my only thought. Is she's just not smart enough? But she's mostly computer, so how could she not be smart enough?
See, I wouldn't say she's mostly computer. She just has computer. She's like cyborg.
She is cyborg. Yeah.
Yeah, she's cyborg.
Which usually means you have a human brain, but you
But-
can process computer. Well, it depends
Right.
on the percentage, I guess, of
yeah.
robot to human.
And it's like she's very emotional. It's very much actually like Cyborg. Cyborg is an emotional character. Like,
True.
he can get really hot-headed, especially with his relationship with his father. She's the same way. Relationship with her father, Thanos. Like, she gets emotional about it, but overall she's not never shown as like a really smart character. She's not there figuring things out.
Yeah,
She
that's
just
true.
goes.
That's
She's
true.
a warrior.
Because, I mean, if you think about it, I guess you're right. She's not that smart, and because
And I don't mean to make that sound bad. Sorry.
No, she's the character. I mean, the character might be played that way.
Yeah.
I mean, she can never beat her sister, and she gets electronic upgrades. Like, she literally is getting improvements, and she still cannot beat her sister.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would definitely play into her not being the most adept or smart character.
Right, not being able to figure out that ahead of time. But Thanos does.
Right.
And if you want to talk about a character, all of Infinity War was Thanos. It was all of his story.
Uh-huh.
And Endgame, it's not really about Thanos at this point. It's about the Avengers.
Oh, absolutely.
But he is obviously still a major threat.
Yeah, I mean, he's the protagonist, but everything is following the Avengers. This is definitely the Avengers story.
Right. Infinity War, he felt like a protagonist.
Oh, yeah.
In Endgame, he was clearly the antagonist.
Sure.
Like,
But no, I get what you're saying. Infinity War was like the Thanos story.
Right.
Finally, he's taken all these other measures to try to use his team to find the stones or take people out.
Right.
And the Avengers keep getting in the way, and so now he just did it himself in that one.
Right. And I liked Thanos in this. He felt like he, again, had a character evolution. And it came near the end of the film. So he says at one point, he figures out their time travel stuff, and he comes to the present day to stop them and all that. And he says, so initially I killed off half the universe to get balance. But you guys are a thorn in my side. Like, you're pissing me off. And now I know that you're always going to find a way to fight me, to resist. So now I have to destroy the entire universe. And I have to start it fresh.
Yeah.
And he says it in such a way that it's like, that's a very typical villain.
Yeah.
Thing,
So he
right?
becomes like the epitome of a villain
Right.
at this point. Now, alternative to a guy with a mission.
Right.
Now he's just straight villain.
Right. Like you can't empathize with him at
No,
that
you're
point.
just like, that's dumb. So his idea is to create a whole new universe and be the king of the universe.
Essentially, yes. Yeah. And he becomes a mustache-twirling villain, not in the corny way, but that's what he is.
Yeah.
But I liked it. It worked in this. And the reason it worked, what it reminded me of as a DC fan, Darkseid. Darkseid's whole mission is to find the anti-life equation in the DC universe, which basically grants him control over everyone.
Yeah.
It's like a mind control device.
Yeah, I can see the connection. I can see the similarities.
And that's where they went, and I think it worked with him. Because it's like, again, it's an evolution. My first plan didn't work. You guys are pissing me off. I'm just going to do this now.
Yeah.
It's like a teenager throwing a fit.
Yeah.
Taking my ball and going home.
And I mean, maybe that it helps his downfall.
Right.
Because he just becomes just so arrogant. Like, for him, he's coming in, like 4 or 5 years into the future?
Right.
Or no, even further than that. About 10 years into the future.
Yeah.
Because he's from Guardians of the Galaxy 1 is when he finds them. And then he pops into this movie, the Endgame movie. So it's 8 years or so. So
yeah. He's younger.
You and we can grow a lot mentally and physically in 8 years. So he's probably a little bit younger and maybe a little bit too arrogant 8 years ago. Yeah. So he does come in as this perfect epitome of a villain.
Right.
And it's part of his downfall is just he's just so angry and he's like I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it my way.
And it's like if you compare him in Infinity War to even like you said Guardians of the Galaxy 1 or I think it was that when he's having the spat with Ronan, and he like summons Ronan, and they have like a back and forth.
Yeah,
you can tell the evolution of the character to being more of an old. It sounds bad, but quote unquote wiser.
Yeah,
guy in Infinity War.
I would say by Infinity War, we the viewers felt that he was a little bit more wise, a little bit more seasoned.
Right.
But then I strongly believe in this one, Endgame, that because he comes from the past, he did a great job as an actor, giving us this less seasoned character, somebody who's just gonna blow everything up.
Yeah. Even the CGI shows that.
Yeah.
It was spectacular.
Yeah.
Let's go back. Let's fast forward a bit through the film to the final battle, and that final battle, that third act, essentially. For me, that's what made this film. Like, this was the strongest third act I think I can remember from a blockbuster in recent memory. At least compared to the first two. The first two acts were really strong, but the third act just was ridiculous.
Again, I think the first two acts that gave us our actors that I've been wanting for so long, gave them performance to happen. And then the third act was our action-packed, tell the final story, ball up your fist and get in there. You know?
Fan service. That third act was pure fan service,
exactly.
while also serving the story. It wasn't. Nothing was out of place.
Right.
Well, except for maybe like a couple scenes, but like little tiny ones.
Yeah.
But it all felt really, really good. Do you have any like favorite scenes from the final battle? Like we have Doctor Strange is in it, Ant-Man.
Obviously, I mean, I don't know how to like narrow it down in this battle scene for me. I really, really liked that we had giant Ant-Man again.
Yeah.
He came back and just started breaking stuff.
He punched a Leviathan
it.
in the face.
Yep.
Pow, right in the kisser.
Pow, right in the kisser. Pow, right in the kisser. And then one of the things that I've been wanting for so long in the Marvel Universe, after seeing the original Doctor Strange movie, why has there not been more sorcerers? Like, why didn't he summon more sorcerers in other occasions? But in this case, they finally brought us other sorcerers to help, and I thought that was huge.
And it you know what's really funny is like that it was so convenient, but it's perfect because they have the ability to make those time portals or the portals.
The portals and the shields, and then to shoot things, like throw things. I mean, they have abilities, and again, it kind of, if you used them in other movies, it would have changed the effect.
It would feel like a cheat code.
It would have, it's basically a cheat code. But they're there.
They are there, and they are the only ones, apart from people using the Tesseract, the Space Stone, that can like teleport from areas.
Yep.
And they literally bring in all the Avengers.
They bring an
army. They bring the army.
They bring an Avengers
and
army.
And that's why you need them.
Yep.
And so it just worked.
Yep.
You mentioned Ant-Man in that final battle. Did you see? So I heard about this. I don't remember it myself. So I'll see it again. But apparently he pushes a Leviathan back through like a portal.
Yeah, he's pushing it through a portal. He's just like,
he's just like
shoves it back into a hole.
It's like shoving like a suitcase into a trunk.
Yeah, he was trying to make it fit. It worked.
It worked.
It was good.
So I actually have two favorite scenes in this final battle, and they stuck out to me immediately. The first one being Captain America going up against Thanos one-on-one, and he gets Mjolnir, Thor's hammer.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So it was teased in Age of Ultron, where they're all around like some living room, and he nudges it when they're trying to all pick up Thor's hammer, and so they recall that all the way from, I guess it was 5 years ago, and he is worthy of it.
Awesome.
And it's like we knew that, and now we get to see it.
Yeah.
Our audience
even Thor, when he saw it, he goes, "I knew it!"
Right.
He was so excited about it himself.
Thor was like, "Yeah, finally, you did it, man!"
Yeah.
And the audience just erupted. I feel like that might have been the biggest like applause portion.
It was.
In our screen.
It was a big applause.
So the other big moment, I feel like, and it wasn't the final battle, so it was actually just the third act, but it was at the end, and you had Chris and Chris. So Chris Pratt, Chris Hemsworth on the Guardians of the Galaxy ship. So they set up at the end that Chris Hemsworth is joining the Guardians of the Galaxy, presumably for the third movie. And they're like just banter back and forth about who's the leader. It's a continuation from Infinity War.
Yeah, Thor goes, "We know you're I mean, of course you're the leader, because we all know you're the leader." And he just goes, "Yeah, I'm the leader." And he goes, "Yeah, no, I know."
They just keep it up for like
so funny
for like 3 minutes.
It's
just
so long,
and it's so long, but it works.
It's
every
so
second.
Long.
And now that is my most anticipated film. Is Guardians of the Galaxy?
Oh, I know, I can't wait. It's gonna be so funny.
So
in the third act, for me, not just one scene or a specific scene, it was the emotion of it. I didn't expect to be so emotional at the end of this movie. And it all happens when we hear Falcon for the first time kind of come over the intercom, like, "Captain, can you hear me? Can you hear me?" And Captain's like, "What? And he goes, "On your left." And then, a Doctor Strange portal opens, and characters had that had been dusted were coming through the portal, and you're just, your heart kind of warms a little bit, and, a little tear formed in my eye. I was like, "Oh my gosh, all those people, everybody I wanted, they're back." I was so happy to see them all. And that was great. And then what really tipped me over the edge was when Pepper Potts lands as rescue. She just crashes into the ground, and I was just superhero landing, and I was like, even people who weren't Avengers are showing up to fight this ultimate battle, and that just toppled me over. I was like, oh my gosh, the feelings, like the emotion of it. Oh,
And it all fit. And again, even something like with Pepper Pot coming in a suit, like, why is she doing that? Like, we've had hints of it in Iron Man 3 where Tony saves her from his crumbling house and throws his suit at her so she's protected. That was the first hint she could be rescued. But why in this one does it work? And the reason is to go back to the beginning 5 years later. Like, imagine being anyone in this world where half the population is gone.
Yeah.
Like, you'll do anything.
You'll do anything. You're ready to fight.
You're ready to
You know,
fight.
you saw what happened and you didn't do anything or you couldn't do something,
Right.
and that makes you feel weak, and you don't want to be weak again.
Right.
So you want to stand up and fight too.
And it's totally believable because how many years has she watched Iron Man
Oh yeah,
in the suit?
absolutely.
Tony Stark in the suit.
I never once went like, well, how can she do that maneuver?
Right.
Doesn't matter.
Exactly.
She can do it.
Exactly.
If anybody can do it, she can do it.
And it's like, that's another payoff of this long timeline of the MCU. Because from the very beginning, she was there, and now she can control Tony's suit, or one of those suits.
One of the suits, yeah.
And it's like, it works.
It works. I'm so happy. I want to see where that goes too.
Yeah, I would love to see her.
I want to see like her film.
And that actually reminds me of one of the key moments in that final battle. The eighth.
I was just about to get there. I know where you're going with this one.
Great minds. A-Force. So that's the female group of superheroes. In the comics, I think it started in like 2015, where they brought together like She-Hulk and Captain Marvel, and I think Rescue's part of it. And there's some other ones that I'm blanking on, but they have a shot.
Yep.
Where Captain Marvel takes the football.
It's the gauntlet. Stop calling it a football.
She has the rock, and she's trying to get to it's some device, so she has to get to the Ant-Man van to put it back in the quantum realm or whatever. She's trying to get across a battlefield.
Yep.
And she says something like, "I'm gonna do this on my own" or something if I have to. And then
No.
What does
she takes it from Spider-Man, and Spider-Man goes, "How are you gonna get through that entire army?" And then they all the female characters show up at the same time and go,
She's not
alone, you know. And we had this awesome, and again, I love it so much. We have this awesome girl power moment, like empowering women, and giving them that superhero character to root for as well. Like this isn't just men, it isn't just the male characters that are super important.
And it's like, it was such a good team up and handled so well. Like, remember Valkyrie on the horse, the winged horse, and she takes down a Leviathan with her sword.
Oh yeah, she just takes out that one all by herself.
All by herself, and I'm like, I want to see that film.
Right.
Like, I would totally watch that.
Yeah.
And you know what it also brought up, and that was kind of, it might have been the first time, because I'm not a huge Black Widow or Hawkeye fan, generally speaking. Just throwing that out there. Seeing that without Black Widow, I was like, crap. Like,
I think that was part of it. I think that was part of the moment too. I think they were trying to draw that little bit of emotion. Like, she could have been there. She could have been a part of that awesome anthem.
Team up.
The team up.
Because she was in the Infinity War. Remember, they had a mini A-Force moment where it was like Okoye from Black Panther, Black Widow, and Scarlet Witch in Infinity War, and they're battling together.
Yep.
And this was that again, with more characters, but without Black Widow, and it just felt like something was missing there in that sense.
Yeah,
which it was,
Yep.
Oh, another cool scene for that, and we'll get back to the emotional aspect of that, I promise, because there is actually a lot of emotion in Act 3. Instant kill Spidey.
Oh, instant kill. He goes, kill mode. And all the little spider legs pop out and start stabbing the whatever those alien creatures are.
So much fun with that scene.
Oh my gosh. But he couldn't do anything. He got overwhelmed so quickly by them. And he was still winning, but he couldn't move. There were just so many of those creatures.
There's so many, so he needed those
arms. Those robot arms.
And eventually they even overwhelmed the arms.
They take him down.
Yeah. They actually show him at one point in the battle. I think it's right after that scene. They overwhelm him. He gets saved, I think, by Captain Marvel, and he's kind of in the fetal position.
Yep. That's when he gives her the gauntlet.
So he's in the fetal position, and it was like he's scared because you have to remember he's still a kid.
He's in high school.
He's like 15-year-old kid, and he's in this world-ending battle. He's been in battles before, not like that.
Not like that.
And so it made sense. Another part of this battle, Captain Marvel.
I was about to ask you about Captain Marvel because there was so much anticipation about her character post the Captain Marvel movie. And her involvement in this one. How did you feel about her, how much she was in this movie?
So I felt like they actually handled it pretty well. So as a Superman fan, I like characters that are quote-unquote OP. People always throw that out there. but they handle it in the right way. And it's kind of what you want to see from Superman a lot of times in the films, where they're from Thanos' ship is firing down on the battlefield and just hammering people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like they're kind of getting it on the ropes a little bit, and then suddenly the guns, the turrets, turn towards the sky,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, what are they firing at? And you see this glow above the clouds coming towards them, and they're just firing at it. And then it's Captain Marvel, and she just goes straight through the ship, destroys it,
Yep.
crashes it, and kind of saves the day in that moment,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
Because now the tides have turned.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, that's a Superman moment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, we don't have that a lot of times in the DC film universe.
Yep.
But Captain Marvel did it. And
She
I thought
did.
it was amazing.
You know, from my end of it, I thought there was so much hype on the internet about how she was going to be involved with it. I was on, I think the smaller group side that said they didn't want her to be super involved because
Yeah.
it was been too easy. In my opinion, if she had just stayed there and been like, "I'm gonna do everything from right here with you," I think she could have dominated the entire movie. And that we didn't win another. I didn't want another Captain Marvel movie right now.
Yeah. Well, so to go back to that point, they kind of start out the film with Captain Marvel being gung ho. Hey, I'm freaking Captain Marvel. I can beat Thanos in 2 seconds. Let me go down on the planet and see if he's there and kick his butt. And she's arrogant basically. Like
Yeah.
even in Captain Marvel, the last film, like when she gets those powers, well, she's always been arrogant, which I like about the character. Like, yeah, you should be. You're amazing.
Right.
Like you deserve that. So they set up a scene in this which makes perfect sense. Don Cheadle, Rhodey, says, like, where were you? We've been here. We all know this superhero game. Like, where were you? And she was like, hey, you know, there are other planets in this galaxy that have the same problems that Earth has. They had the snap happen to them too. Half their population is gone. She doesn't say all that, but it's like that's know that's what she's talking about.
She said there were like thousands of other planets that this had
Right.
all happened to, and none of them have Avengers to help them.
None of them have you. She doesn't.
Yep.
She doesn't do like a little swipe at them. She
Nope.
says, "Hey, you guys are amazing. I wish you were everywhere,
Yep.
but you can't be. I can. That's why I have to leave."
Yep.
And it makes sense for the character, and it explains her absence really well. And it's like it's one of those. It's a subtle thing, but it makes so much sense.
Yeah.
It's not like they're just trying to take her out of the battle because she's quote unquote OP. It's like there's a legitimate reason why she's not there
Yeah.
instead of a made up one.
Yeah, exactly. I know. I think it was a great way to get her off Earth, essentially.
And if that's the goal, this is the right way to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it works
This
story-wise.
was the appropriate amount of Captain Marvel we needed in the movie.
Right.
That's how I feel about it.
Yeah. And it kind of answers the question from one of our previous episodes, like, who's going to be the powerhouse of the group?
Yeah.
It was clearly Captain Marvel.
Yeah, because she did exactly what she did in her movie, which is just drive herself through the ship and takes it completely out.
Right, right. And Thor, he could have been a powerhouse, just like in Infinity War, but he was obviously not in the right state of mind.
Nope.
He was Big Lebowski
He was
Thor.
never 100% in this movie.
Even Stormbreaker was not the same as what we saw in Infinity War.
Right.
You know, and it all comes from his mindset. So, which I thought was really,
I thought it was really cool, yeah.
really well done. Let's talk a little bit about just the cinematography, CGI, sound. I mean, this was even the de-aging in this was incredible.
Yeah, no, they did a really good job. Because, like, we talked earlier about Tony Stark being emaciated and kind of thin. That was CGI.
Yeah.
But it looked good. It looked really, really good. The aging CGI was the best that I've seen in a long time. I'm sure it was a nice mix of makeup and CGI. I don't want to give this one away, honestly, but the person who is aged looks fantastic.
Yeah. And that's fair. Like, we assume most people have seen it, but, you know, make sure you see it.
Yeah. And you know, the kind of the weak spot, I will actually say that the Hulk was kind of the weakest CGI, but it's because he's 100%. Same with Thanos. He's 100%. So you just look at him and he kind of looks cartoony.
Right.
But it is what it is. It's as far as you can go with it.
Yeah, and they've gone as far as they can. Like, you can tell they've put in a lot of effort into
Yeah.
that, and they did a good job. And overall, the cinematography was great. I did have some minor issues with it here and there, like just the camera angles in the final battle, but, you know, those are minor. They're nitpicks, essentially.
Yeah,
This was...
exactly. That was my view, too. We talked a little bit about that before, and it's so minor that it doesn't bother me. I'm going to watch the movie again and just be just as happy.
And one of the reasons I want to watch this film again and again and again is for that final battle, everything that's going on. So when we first saw it, I'm concentrating on what they want us to concentrate on, which is like the main person
characters.
in the shot,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah.
But imagine all the things going on in the background.
Yeah. I want to see all the little side battles that are happening in the background. I want to see all that. I showed you Howard the Duck. Howard
I was
the
just about to say
Duck
that.
is in this. He sneaks in the background. He's got a gun and a suit.
And I would never have in a million years thought he would show up again because I knew he was in Guardians.
He was in Guardians, yeah.
Like on the final battle.
Yeah. How cool is he?
Genius.
Genius.
That's awesome.
Honestly, it very much reminds me of in Ready Player One. The final battle scene of Ready Player One, because everybody has their awesome characters. There's the Halo character. There's the Ninja Turtles. There's things like that. So you don't get to. The more you watch Ready Player One battle scene, the final battle, you see the characters more and more. It just gets more exciting.
Dude, I'm so glad he mentioned that because it's been bothering me since we saw the movie, like what this final battle reminds me of a bit. Mm-hmm. And it's not like, Lord of the Rings, those final battles. It's not
that was a totally different large battle because I've seen people say stuff about that. And I'm like, no, it's not even close.
It's different. Part of it's like the lighting. This was like a blue, hazy light in an Endgame. Mm-hmm. And it's very reminiscent of Ready Player One.
Yeah, I think so too.
And I would be interested to see like if they had the same cinematographer between those two films. But that was good point, man.
Yeah, Ready Player One and this battle scene are very similar, and I thought that as soon as I saw, I was like, wow. As soon as it was happening with all the people that showed up, I was like, we're about to have a Ready Player One style battle.
Yeah.
And it just went off, and it was awesome.
It was amazing. Let's kind of switch gears for 1 second and go back to like the emotional payoff of the film. Mm-hmm. I think we do have to talk about this spoiler because it's a spoiler review and it's the crux of the film. Tony Stark. So, Hulk grabs the Infinity Gauntlet, that one they make, that Iron Man makes, and he brings everyone back with a snap.
Yep.
But it doesn't get rid of Thanos.
Correct.
Tony Stark gets the Infinity Stones into the Gauntlet and snaps his fingers and dusts all the enemies, including Thanos. Mm-hmm. And that's how the battle ends.
Yep. And
what does Thanos say when he thinks he can snap everyone away again? He says, "I am inevitable."
Yep.
That's what Thanos says. Mm-hmm. And Tony Stark, when he knows he has the stones, he says, "I am Iron Man."
Yep.
And
that was epic.
It was
totally epic.
Perfectly. Mm-hmm. Like that could be one of those lines, that callback line that could be super cheesy if not handled correctly.
Right.
The way they handled that one and the way Robert Downey Jr. acted that scene, it worked. It made sense to say that. Mm-hmm. It was perfect.
Yep.
It was a perfect send-off.
Yeah, it was amazing.
And it was emotional. Like I was tearing up when that happened.
That was a real tough one.
Yeah, because you know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, you know what's about to unfold there, and it's pretty tough.
Yeah, and they also, by the way, they set that up in the last two movies again perfectly. Mm-hmm. That you can use the Infinity Gauntlet and all these powerful Infinity Stones. Thanos did, but half of his body gets torn up. Mm-hmm. Like there's so much power there that when you use them like that, it takes something away from you physically.
Yep.
Then they showed Hulk. Same thing happens to him.
Yeah, his arm's all burned and tiny. It's not even muscular anymore. Yeah.
Right. And it's like it's a permanent scar. Mm-hmm. And then, so if Hulk can't take the full power of the Infinity Suit, if Thanos can't, what a human in a suit gonna do?
Right.
And of course, that leads to Tony not being with us.
Yeah.
And he started the MCU. And he ended this first phase of the MCU, and it felt appropriate.
Yeah,
that was handled really well. Let's talk about if this film lived up or surpassed your expectations. Is it?
Honestly, I don't know what my expectations were going into it. I'm just glad that it didn't disappoint.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was amazing. It was top notch. It's gonna go down in history, in blockbuster history. I promise. And I'm glad that it is because you can't end 22 movie series and mess up, and they did not. They did a fantastic job, so I'm really, really happy with the end result.
How often is it that you have a franchise go out on such and again, they're not ending the franchise, but this first chapter of the franchise go out on kind of the perfect note. Mm-hmm. It's a real it just as in terms of thinking about movies overall and our enjoyment of them. Like it's a really amazing experience that this journey we've all been on collectively as a culture, really.
Really, yeah.
It's quite rare.
That's why for me, it was so emotional when all of the characters that came back from the dusting started showing up inside the portal holes. Like I was just like, wow, I didn't know until that moment how important they all were to me
Yeah,
until they
yeah,
came back. You know.
that's absolutely right. It's we only had 2/3 of a film where we didn't have them,
Mhm.
but we felt that full 5 years as an audience.
Yep. Yeah.
And that's just good filmmaking. That's
Mhm.
good writing.
Yeah.
What has the MCU? We kind of touched on it a bit, but what has the MCU meant to you? Again, this is an 11-year journey. Like talking in real time, 11 years.
Mhm.
I was 20 years old when Iron Man came out.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I've completely wrapped my head around what we just witnessed. This journey, I should say.
Yeah. Again, I think you're right. I think it's hard to wrap your head around the fact that we just full circled, a 22 movie series that finished, that storyline. And new storylines will continue. We're going to continue to have Marvel Universe. But for me, this was part of growing up, part of where we've been for the past 10 years, 11 years.
Right.
These people, we've grown with them. They've grown with their character. The characters become more in depth, more feels.
Yeah.
It's been a ride.
You can see their age as actual actors,
Mhm.
over time. Robert Downey Jr. from Iron Man 1 to now. You
Mhm.
see the side by side, and it's like, wow, like he's aged, and he it feels it feels organic because it is.
Yep.
Because it's been 11 years
Yeah.
of this.
Yeah.
And it's like, imagine kids younger than us, or people younger than us. Like, when Iron Man came out, they might have been 10 years old.
Right. Yeah, yeah. No, I get it. I mean, the greatest part about this journey is that we've seeing them grow. I mean, it literally happened on film, the character growth.
Right.
And we saw, like, the biggest thing for me was, Iron Man went from being selfish to selfless. And Captain America did the exact opposite. Well, not the exact opposite, but he went from selfless to a little bit selfish. He makes a selfish choice, but Iron Man, he makes the selfless choice. He literally throws himself on the grenade.
Yeah. Yeah, instead of Cap.
Yeah,
And
Captain America, that's how his movie started. It was him throwing himself on the grenade.
right, right. And it's like that shift, it also again felt organic. It felt earned for both characters in
Yep.
that sense.
Yeah.
And like there's no wrong way or right way about it. Like they both made the right decision
Mhm.
for this universe.
Yep.
It all fits story-wise.
Yeah.
It's just incredible what's happened. Again, the more I think back on this journey, it's for the last 11 years we've had, oh, hey, have you seen the next Marvel movie?
Mhm.
Oh, you want to go see the next Marvel movie? And so on and so forth.
Yep.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
It's truly a Hollywood success story of epic proportions. Last question related to this. Phase 4. Where do we go from here? What are you expecting? What do you want to see?
I think I saw the other day. I think that they showed me that what's coming next is going to be they're going to do a Black Widow. I don't know if it's going to be a movie or a show.
I think it's a movie.
A movie? Okay.
Yeah.
We'll have Black Widow. We're going to have a Doctor Strange. We're going to have Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Yes.
I mean,
Black Panther 2.
Black Panther 2. Oh, and obviously Spider-Man. Spider-Man's
next
coming
one.
out. Yeah, it's coming out real soon.
Yeah. That's going to be really interesting. So, in a past episode, I mentioned that Homecoming was not one of my favorite films. I think it's okay.
Yeah.
But now I'm really anticipating Far From Home.
I think it's going to be way better than Homecoming.
Yeah, I think so too. And part of the reason it's going back to how this whole journey started with MCU is
Yeah.
what are they doing next?
Yeah.
What's going to be that after credit scene?
Yeah.
I want to know.
Yeah.
Because it's wide open. They could do anything.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy.
And here goes another 11 years.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what happens. And then, really quick to close out, box office.
Go for it.
This is insane. It's made $350 million domestically opening weekend. The next highest one was Infinity War last year with 267. This is unprecedented. And I don't see how that's ever going to be beat. I know, never say never. It will be beat eventually.
Eventually, but
It's going to take a long time.
Yeah.
In its second weekend, it could make $200 million. In its second weekend.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
It's nuts.
Worldwide, 1.2 billion. And again, the next closest was Infinity War last year with around 650 billion worldwide. Wow. So this basically doubled it up worldwide.
Wow.
1.2 billion. So 2 billion is guaranteed.
Sure, easy. I strongly believe the only contender for it is going to be Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker.
I still say this is going to be.
And it may. I agree. I'm just telling you. I think that's going to be the only fighting chance to beat it in the box office. is that movie, just because
Yeah.
it's a conclusion of a long time story that we've all been watching.
True.
So,
And it has that December release where
it has the December release,
really good
yeah.
window to release a film. So yeah, that would be the closest. I don't see anything really
I
pushing
know
it.
it would be really hard to beat that.
This
This is crazy numbers.
I never even thought I would say it, and I think this has a chance. I still think it's slim, but if any film is going to do it, this could beat Avatar in terms of the worldwide 2.7 billion worldwide.
Oh yeah, I would gamble that it's definitely going to beat Avatar.
I'm still not there yet, but I'm saying, and before I said there's no chance, there's a slight chance.
I think it'll do it. I think it'll do it.
Especially because I'm seeing it again. I might see it twice.
Yeah, I know. I'm
If
going
they
to go see it
record.
again.
Yeah, that's our Avengers Endgame review. Be sure to check out our Twitter, our Facebook, our Instagram at the Porgcorner. Leave a comment. Let us know what you thought of the film. But before we go, I think we have a lightning round.
Oh, did you say lightning round? Oh man, here we go. We are in for another round of the Emperor Palpatine lightning round.
Another episode.
Another episode.
All right, Steven, what do you got for me today?
All right, this week's Emperor Palpatine lightning rounds topic is fitting for Endgame. The topic is Iron Man.
Very fitting.
All right.
Let's do it.
All right, question number 1. What real-life person did Stan Lee draw inspiration for Tony Stark?
Howard Hughes.
You're absolutely right. Yes, Howard Hughes, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist.
Mustache and all.
Mustache and everything, yeah. Stan Lee has been quoted as saying that Howard Hughes was the most colorful man of our time. He was an inventor, an adventurer, a multi-billionaire, a ladies' man, and a nutcase.
Yeah, that fits Tony Stark pretty well, I'd say.
Yeah.
Good job, Stan.
All right, question number 2. What technology powers the Iron Man suit and keeps shrapnel from entering Tony Stark's heart?
Arc reactor.
Yes,
technology.
you are correct. The arc reactor.
I've been watching my MCU films.
Yeah, me too. I was getting prepared.
All right.
Here's a comic book question. When did Iron Man first appear in comics?
Oh,
What
man.
year?
I'm going to say 1962.
Ooh, close. 1963.
Oh, wow.
You were so close.
Yeah.
I know you know the answer to this one because we already talked about it. But Tony Stark's love interest, Pepper Potts. What is her superhero name?
Rescue.
Yeah, Rescue.
Really cool in this movie.
It's
I really
so
liked her.
cool. You have to. Oh, she's so cool. In the movies, what is Tony Stark's address? This is question number 5. I'm sorry.
Man,
Do you know his address? He says it in Iron Man 3.
I remember that scene, but I don't remember. It's like one Stark. I'm gonna say one Stark way, but I know that's wrong.
No. It's a little bit more generic than that.
Yeah.
It's 10880 Malibu Point.
Yeah. And then his house blows up.
And then his house blows up. Exactly. What do you think was gonna happen?
Listen to you kids out there. Don't give out your address to strangers.
Don't give. Be smart. Be smarter than Tony Stark.
Yeah, the more you know.
The more you know. All right, question 6, final question. The top 50 best comic book superheroes of all time. What ranking did Iron Man receive?
I like that. This is a reoccurring question. I'm gonna say I've been so off on every single one. Like,
No, you got Batman.
Did I?
Yeah, because he was number 1.
No, I think I guess like.
No, you're right. You got
Yeah.
it wrong.
I
Because
got it
you
wrong.
wanted to say number 1 for Batman, and then you're like, it's too easy.
Yeah. So Iron Man, I'm gonna say 13.
Ooh, you're real far on that one. You were closer on some of the other ones, but he came in 5th.
Wow.
Yeah.
That just goes to show how much the MCU has changed. Because he was like a C-list character before the MCU.
Yeah, well, he's so important now. I mean,
Yeah.
with the movies and everything, they've changed his persona.
Yeah, that's why with that list I was thinking, oh man, like if you're going with the history of the comics, like he wasn't all that popular. But hey,
Yeah.
more props to Kevin Feige, MCU, and Robert Downey Jr. for putting this character in the A-list. Like, remember, back in when we were going up, Batman, Spider-Man, Superman, that's it.
Yeah.
And now Iron Man is there.
Iron Man, he's
Pretty
right up
crazy.
front.
Yeah.
And Captain America's come back too.
And he's come back.
I mean, Captain America was so important when he was originally written
Right.
because of the times that he was written in.
Right.
And then
punching Hitler.
Hitler.
Adolf, yeah.
But then he had this big dip because there was just more things. You know, lasers were important, and shooting stuff and flying became important.
Yeah.
And so now Captain America's having this big comeback.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to the next lightning round.
Emperor Palpatine lightning round.
All right, we'll do another one next episode. So again, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at the Porgcorner. Leave your comments. Let us know what you thought, and we will catch you guys on the next one.